Where's your game, bro?
Secrets are going to immediately augment your game 5 billion fold. It doesn't matter if your table is new to the hobby or not. Don't tell the party you're a Jedi until your level justifies the class. When it actually matters, when everyone's lives are on the line, that's when you reveal yourself in all your pompous, self-important, lightsaber-wielding glory. You've selfishly endangered everyone through countless Imperial checkpoints, but now you've stolen the show. The more of these secrets built into the beginning of your party, your players, and your campaign, the more they're going to create and facilitate story arcs unforeseen, as well as roleplay situations that are immediately going to enhance your table. Captain Max's Mercenary APC was way too expensive to justify me starting him with it. He already had his mech. He already had his hirelings, but their mech needed a method of transportation. I decided the APC they could get their hands on was a cost-friendly prototype, but the weapons were just for show. I mentioned to Captain Max that only he and Buck McCool should know, and suggested that the PC hirelings be left in the dark.
Look at the cigarette.
My time to talk. Listen, this is our getaway vehicle. Without this, we die. You protect this at all costs. It's brimming with firepower, but missiles cost money. Remember this. You're a mercenary now.
The easiest, simplest of secrets, and just look at what it adds to the game.
Bobby?
Yes, sir.
I need you to keep that truck safe. So you're going to stay at the top of this hill. When you hear screams of death, you start pushing those buttons and shooting things. And by pushing those buttons, I mean you saving ammunition. Use your own weapons, unless it's big.
Understood, sir.
Thank you. Good job.
Eventually, Bobby would have to flee from a massive monstrosity of a creature while getting bitched out by Max for not being able to shoot and drive at the same time. But you do see in the rearview mirror, it stands 18 to 20 feet tall. It's very awkward. The texture is like maggoty shell, and then just lots and lots of legs. While it's running, it's not very nimble. You can see the thing like falling and collapsing and pulling itself back up. Finally, he decided to operate the weapon systems.
Hey, Bobby, can you shoot and drive at the same time?
He rolled a nat 20.
You said this truck has weapons?
Well, it did. The acid probably destroyed him, but no bonuses.
Nat 20.
The feeling of satisfaction just washes over you as you're going to put about 5,000 bullets into it. But when you begin to operate the controls, it is unresponsive.
Goddamn acid.
Wah, 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 wah.
That's my story.
The smallest of secrets, and just look at the role-playing potential here. Credit to the players, Max and Heathen Dog, for getting some juice out of it. And with greater gusto elsewhere, this might have blown up into a spectacular comedy of discovery.
I like that story.
The Dungeon Master doesn't need to know everything either, and for some of you that might be hard to understand. If the party's path brings them to the sheer cliffs of a mountain fortress, and the party produces ropes and grappling hooks from a sack, the players will take that as a victory, knowing you, the Game Master, didn't know they possessed these things. And it honestly would be a victory because they're the ones with the foresight to be prepared.
I got a 100-foot rope.
Your world should be created for its own sake and not for the sake of the players. A world made for what it is rather than what the players possess. This helps foster a truer man against world experience, as it should be. Also, you might save yourself with rope by having the foresight to tie it around your waist before being devoured by an interdimensional tentacle monster.
I will attach that rope to Lieutenant Warwick.
Oh, thanks for the vote of confidence, Sarge.
Okay, it's not a vote of confidence. It's a vote of necessity.
The rope is the first of 2 game-changing equipment choices by the players in this situation. Equipment I did not ask to know about. While this use of rope isn't really a matter of game secrecy, producing it would go on to save the Ranger's life. The water start to swell up as if something pretty large is traveling underneath it, starting to get much larger, like it was on the bottom. And as it comes up, you just see the swell of water coming up and moving towards. This was an interdimensional apex predator, a massive black tentacle monster with a gelatin center it slowly absorbed its prey in. It was grabbing its lunch and disappearing into the depths to consume it. It wasn't about to present itself for a boss fight. It's a lot of motion from the monster, but you do see the rope going right down, and you dive right in. Without that rope to show the party where it was lurking, this wilderness scout is dead. Meanwhile, you dive down, Dog. Do you know how to swim?
No.
Dead. You can't really see now what's going on, and because it's underwater, it just snatches up one of your legs. It was like the floating barrels used in Jaws to track down the shark. Without it, by the time the remaining party members located and flushed the monster out, Danny would be long gone, having died an agonizing, terrible death. You just see swirling tentacles all over the place in a big mass, and you can see the large white dome underwater because it kind of just shines up through the black.
Okay, yep. I'm gonna take my fusion block, and I'm gonna dive down in the water.
A fusion block.
Yep,
Is that what I think it is? It sounds
it's a
bad.
big boom boom.
And without this fusion block, which I didn't know he had, and does relate to game secrecy, the secrecy of player inventory, they're both dead.
I'm going to jam the fusion block into its body and press the single button that activates the default 30-second timer.
I have a question.
You're
Sure.
dying. Shut up.
The fusion block would go on to blow a hole in the monster's acidy gelatin bubble center. Its massive, monstrous body would protect Buck McCool beneath it from the blast, and the ranger was allowed to escape out the blast wound, just barely, surviving what would have otherwise been certain death. I didn't need to know he had a fusion block. Game master or not, that's none of my business. None of my NPCs can see it, so why should I know or they know it's there? The not knowing adds an element of genuineness that cannot be replicated by even the best role players. None of my NPCs can see it, so why should they or I know it's there? While there's very little chance of showing biases for a vile tentacle monster from another dimension, game masters can fall in love with their own NPCs.
From time to time.
And if I know Buck McCool keeps highly destructive fusion blocks in his pockets, these beloved NPCs could theoretically behave differently than if I didn't know he kept them in his pockets. I need to know what I need to know. As Game Master, God of an imaginary world, I need to know the souls of all men, their alignments. I need to know what gear they have visible to the world and all my NPCs. I need to know their class just because it would usually be stupid not to. And honestly, I don't need to know much more than that. With players of superior quality, I don't even want to know what spells their wizard picked. Surprise me. Surprise my NPCs. Live your life. As Game Master, believe me, I'll be living mine. The players don't need to tell each other everything. It's better if you can play without them having to tell the Game Master everything, and the Game Master obviously does what he wants. Things, for example, I don't tell my players: you have schizophrenia. In my Ultimate Game Master, number 5, How to Deal with Murder Hobos, I share one of my greatest bits of not only game mastering, but Game Master secrecy. I gave my best friend, a power-hungry, treachery-happy botanist wizard with ambitious plans, schizophrenia, in the form of one of his more pitiful murder hobo victims, always coming back to annoy him. Stuck with him now for eternity. He would argue with him, insult them, kill him over and over and over again. He would eventually build sidecars for him on his vehicles. He would take his advice. He would blast him down with furious insults. And everyone else at the table knew that this subordinated minion didn't even exist. Everyone, that is, except for Julian, my power-hungry wizard friend. The rest of the table knew they couldn't see him. They knew it wasn't a puzzle for them to figure out. They knew that their only task was to hide their laughter and not be too obvious with their highly amused side glances at one another as he was genuinely flipping out on someone that they knew that wasn't real. This leads me to what prompted this video.
Magic. We should kill the DBs, I think.
Mental disorders, how to use them in this style, and a viewer's curiosity about my decision to never know Randy's insanity triggers for his crazy. And right away, he gets clipped by a round of bullets and falls to the ground. Right after that, his companion puts out his hand like this, and you see a shimmering field come up over him, and they're just lighting up the protesters now.
Wait, the coalition's shooting the protesters?
Yes. Before long, you see about 4 people get shot into the streets pretty graphically. It settles very quickly.
Did that guy cast a magic? Was that magic?
Yes, Corporal. I'm sorry. Yes, Private. I think.
Looking back, and I'm like, holy cow, that was magic. That was magic.
No, I just shot through the windshield. It's okay.
Meanwhile, as I explained in my last video, the Crazy is a character class raised to superhuman levels by neural implants that augment the motor skills of the brain to increase strength and speed beyond their normal human capacity. The downside, every new level requires a random roll on insanity and phobia tables. And it just so happens Randy had just attained one after our Vigilante Nightlight one-shot that didn't involve. I realized early on that it made more Game Master sense not to know the Crazy's triggers. To know my friend was deathly afraid of alien flora at level 4 would mean I could only engineer it or not engineer alien plant life into a campaign to short-circuit or not short-circuit one of my players.
Magic. We should kill the DBs, I think.
Knowing the triggers actually ruins it. Instead of a player having a meltdown over something organically added into the campaign narration, you're making a yes or no, thumbs up, thumbs down decision before it even starts. I'd realized I'd rather not know and have him come upon these things naturally where I thought to include them for the sake of my game world, which then and only then would trigger unexpectedly his behavioral change. This then happened twice. Most memorably when my Coalition Juicer NPC codenamed Short Term threw my buddy's NPC friend Super Juice off a building, smashing his head open like a pumpkin right in front of him. The crazy had his multiple personality engaged by the trauma and he slipped away from the party to begin a night of crime and a solo campaign. The party's assignment, up until this moment having been executed flawlessly, quickly went to hell in an absolute handbasket. This is how these mechanics should be used.
Magic. We should kill the DBs, I think.
This is called working as intended. Randy, who was at first most visibly distraught by the idea of nuking a settlement for a fascist military commander.
No, we're going to burn it to the ground.
What?
Just-
Why?
Essentially became the sole reason for its destruction, after a mage that rose to the people's defense completely triggered his new insanity. With a mask on his face, kind of wearing a blend of armor and robes, and you see him looking straight at you, kind of doing this with his hands as like these wisps of like orange light and all that other stuff.
Pew! Right now. Magic. And I say it out loud. Magic.
A severe, newly acquired, violently charged phobia towards wielders of the arcane would kick in that I had no idea he had, and so obviously could not build or not build into the game. And so, a settlement got nuked. You hear a lot of screaming as you continue to run. I assume Warren right behind you.
I hope so.
Max, as you're sitting there in your mech with the air conditioner turned on louder, harder now. It's finally got the temperature to about where you want it. And you see a nuclear explosion rise over the tree line real quick that just illuminates the night with daylight for not even like a lightning strike, but like a lingering daylight. This day, it turns from night to day for probably about 20 seconds as this...
I'm turning my mech 180 degrees. So the mushroom cloud is behind me. And I'm just envisioning a nice Apocalypse Now type view with helicopters coming in, even though I'm a mech.
Atomic radioactive green daylight for about 20 seconds as this mushroom cloud just
Once I feel
rises.
that I looked sufficiently cool. Sergeant, are you okay? Sergeant, are you there?
Sir, copy that.
After such genuine moral concern for what they might have to do, it was a most remarkable twist that Randy himself should be the irrational cause of the settlement's annihilation.
Magic. We should kill the DBs, I think.
The Crazy is an amazing class for introducing amazing roleplay elements into a game. The Crazy is a class, but it's also a mechanism. And there's a lot of things like that in games, if they're clever, if you look, if you use them creatively. What should be secret? What should not? Simple. What should you know? What should you not know? What do you want to be able to specifically build around? If you're a miscreant evil and your friend asks you what you're choosing for an alignment, lie. Why should you share your alignment? When have you ever met anyone in life wearing that name tag? Let our actions define us. Earn your trust or earn your disdain and banishment. This is how you wield your character. Emphasis on the word wield. Playing cards close to your vest is an easy, intangible, RPG is dumb, Mercer core, where's your game bro, baby step example of how to easily become a better role player, and it's something even the greenest, newest, shyest player can start doing. Yeah, you're playing a tabletop RPG game, but some players here are playing some poker too. Feel? Your girlfriend's roommate is playing a kid. The wrinkle is she's a powerful psionic. The party doesn't need to know. Your power-hungry mage whose mind has turned to metal and machines and armies of whatever force should become available, who's lost all love for things green and growing. Party doesn't need to know. You're actually a synthetic robot. When your arms get blown off and start spraying milk for blood all over your pilot, now yelling to the party, WTF, Bob's a frickin' robot, that's when your party can know. Imagine all the roleplay potential that's now layered into your campaign like little seeds in a garden. They're everywhere. Wrinkles in your campaign, wrinkles in your world, and wrinkles in all your individual players. If the party knows you're soon to be the most powerful sorcerer in the universe with the most ambitious designs, I got news for you. They'll only try and stop you. Secrets. As a game master, they're going to enhance your game and make it more fun. Especially for you.